As the 2024 US presidential election looms, India is watching closely. A win by either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris could reshape diplomatic ties, alter strategies, and impact India's role in global geopolitics. Today, we dive deep into what these two leaders could mean for US-India relations, including key issues with respect to China and Russia.
This overall national poll figures don't really mean all that much, because what is really important is how the seven swing states or the battleground states do. And in those also, I think in some of them, both Trump and Kamala Harris are tied neck to neck. And in some of them, we see that, Kamala Harris has a short lead, in the others, Trump has a short lead. So I think the dice is very much up in the air, and it'll really depend. I think the 43, 44 states, they are known to be either blue states or red states. So it is these 6-7 states which will ultimately determine the fate of the two candidates.
If Donald Trump returns to power, we might see a continuation of his America First agenda. During his previous term, Trump's stance on India was generally positive. He praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi and focused on deepening trade and defense partnerships. However, his focus was more transactional. Trump is likely to push India to buy more American goods and weapons while maintaining a tough stance on China. Trump's unpredictable foreign policy could complicate India's balancing act between the US and Russia, especially with the ongoing war in Ukraine. Trump has taken a less confrontational stance on Russia than most US leaders. This could benefit India, which has historically maintained strong ties with Russia, particularly in defense. But with the US's growing pushback on China, Trump's administration would expect India to stand with the US against Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific. Given India's own border tensions with China, this could align well with New Delhi's interests.
Let's not overemphasize the role of the personality of the character who sits in the White House. McDonald Trump is what I prefer to call him. He's a businessman. He is a geopolitical arsonist. There's no question about it. When he first became president, he talked about draining the Washington swamp. So all these characters sitting here are pretty useless, and they are the guys who have made America weak. So he talked of MAGA, make America great again, etc. It resonated with the people, and he won.
As far as Mr. Trump is concerned, if he comes to power, for him, trade is the issue on which he determines. It is the testing touchstone on which he determines relations with other countries. And we have seen what he did last time. He had imposed penal tariffs on India, on Indian steel, on Indian aluminium. He removed about $6 billion worth of goods from the GSP. They were not restored by President Biden also. We still are under the same GSP denial regime for those $6 billion. And also as far as some of these other items on aluminium and steel. And Trump has publicly declared, particularly in the second presidential debate that he had, that he is going to impose 60% tariffs on China and 10% tariffs on the other countries. So I think we could experience some roller coaster ride as far as trade issues are concerned. Last time also, you would recall, he was particularly adamant and on reduction of tariffs as far as import of Harley-Davidson motorcycles is concerned. And we reduced them from 100% to 50%, but that was not enough for him. He wasn't satisfied with that. So I think on the trade issue, we definitely will get, if he comes, we'll definitely get some pushback. But we'll really have to manage him as Prime Minister Modi was able to manage him last time.
Kamala Harris's approach to US-India relations would likely be a little different from Trump's. Harris has been a vocal advocate of democracy and human rights, which could bring up sensitive issues. While she supports stronger US-India ties, especially in technology and climate cooperation, she may put more focus on topics like religious freedom and press freedom in India.
As far as Kamala Harris is concerned, I think trade is not going to be an issue on which she is going to spend much time. But I think definitely what one would call the issues related to human rights, issues related to democracy, issues related to the condition of, as she would see it, condition of minorities in India, because she's a part of the progressive side, the left side of the Democrats. So she has that constituency, and even in the past she has said that she will not keep quiet on these particular aspects. So we could hear some comments from her on these aspects. But I think the relationship is strong enough, it's robust, it's vibrant, that and there is enough ballast in the relationship that all these aspects, anything that comes from there, it could be taken in our stride. She has doesn't have much exposure or experience as far as international relations are concerned. So we'll really have to wait and see as to how she conducts herself. But definitely, even in terms of style, there is going to be a big difference.
I don't think she understands anything about foreign policy. She has no idea. She is therefore the favorite candidate of the deep state of a shallow system. America is a very disturbed society at this time. Nobody's challenging their economic power or their military power, but socially, they're very disturbed, sir. Otherwise, for a person like Donald Trump to think that he can come back to power, it shows that there are people who would like to have a different view of life.
But what about broader strategic ties? Both Trump and Harris would likely prioritize the Quad, a strategic alliance between the US, India, Japan, and Australia aimed at countering China's influence in the Indo-Pacific. Under both administrations, the US would want India to take on a larger role in the Quad, bolstering military cooperation and intelligence sharing.
As far as China is concerned, both India and the United States are on the same page. And that is one of the most important factors as to why the Quad was revived, resurrected in November of 2017, because it is, after Xi Jinping came to power in 2012, 2013, and he started, moving out in a much more pronounced manner, his expansionist policy, the belligerent policy in South China Sea. That is what brought all the countries together in November 2017. And of course, we have seen that the revival of the Quad has been quite remarkable, in fact, spectacular from the beginning of 2021 when Mr. Biden came to power. And we have had, over this short period of about 3.5 years, we have had 6 summit meetings, 4 of them in person and 2 of them virtually. And we've had 8 meetings between the foreign ministers over the last 5 years. So I think that is quite remarkable. So I think the focus on China is going to stay, because China has been identified. It was identified in the National Security Doctrine in 2017 as the biggest strategic threat as far as the United States is concerned. And I think even as far as India is concerned, that is the most formidable challenge as far as we are concerned in our foreign policy.
As far as China is concerned, they understand that we don't like China, because China sees India as a threat. China sees India as a barrier to its ambition to dominate Asia. There was a time when the Chinese suggested to the Americans that, look, our 2 militaries are now equally strong, and so let's divide the world and have a G2. That prompted Barack Obama. I think he was the guy who talked about a US-China relation being the defining partnership of the 21st century. That prompted him. He got very angry. He said, we are the most powerful military in human history, period. And he told Ping Pong where to get off, or Ting Ling, or whatever that fellow's name is, the Chinese chap. As far as I'm concerned, sir, The relationship with Russia is time-tested, it's very old, and we made it very clear that we are not going to abandon that friendship. We know, sir, because, sir, there's an expression, a burnt child dreads the fire. America has imposed sanctions on us at least 4 times since our independence for various reasons. The Russians, and before that, the Soviet Union, not once. So there is a certain level of trust that exists between the two countries. Now, China is the common factor. The biggest threat to America is not Russia. I think Mr. Biden has completely misread international geopolitics if he thinks that Russia is the biggest threat. The biggest threat to them is China. Russia doesn't intend to attack the United States. Russia doesn't intend to dominate the world as China intends to.
As far as Russia is concerned, I think the pressure on India to change its position vis-a-vis our relations with Russia was much greater when the war started. On 2 counts, basically. One is that India had not specifically criticized or condemned Russia for its attack on Ukraine, although we had said that we are fully supportive of the United Nations Charter and the territorial integrity and sovereignty of states needs to be respected. And secondly was on the import of discounted oil. I think we've been having both in public as well as private conversations with the United States as also with some of the major European powers. And I think we have been able to, if not persuade them, at least make them grudgingly accept that what we are doing, definitely as far as import of oil is concerned, it is to meet our own requirements, because we are dependent upon imports for 85% of our needs. And if the Russian oil was not available to us, the prices of oil globally would have, shot up very much.
Both Trump and Harris would likely continue to see India as a key partner in the Indo-Pacific, but their policies and approaches would differ greatly.
Whoever sits in the White House has, like Donald Trump has, and I think to some extent this woman will also realize that you cannot push India around. I was watching a television roundtable, but in which the 2 great people were John Mearsheimer, professor at the University of Chicago, and Jeffrey Sachs, who, like me, is an economist, but of course of a totally different league. And one of the questions was, should India be an ally of the United States? The answer I think John Mearsheimer gave was, you can't have India as an ally. India is a superpower. You can have India as a friend if you know what is good for you. I think that says it all. That message has now percolated to all sections of American society. They know it, some may not accept it, but those who know it and accept it, they understand the significance and importance of India.
I think what I could say in general, irrespective of which candidate comes, by and large, the movement of bilateral ties would be in the upward direction. We have seen that happening from 2000 onwards, March 2000, when we had the visit of President Bill Clinton to India. So after that, irrespective of which party has occupied the White House, first it was for a few months, it was Clinton, then 8 years it was the Republicans under George W. Bush, then 8 years Obama, Democrat, 4 years Republican, again 4 years Democrat. So irrespective of which party has been in the White House, our relations have continued to grow stronger. So I think the basic fundamentals of the relationship, that is bilateral partnership, bilateral economic commercial partnership, I think that will continue to grow. In terms of defense ties, the United States has emerged as possibly the second or the third largest supplier of defense equipment to India. I think that is going to continue. It'll continue to expand. It'll also continue to expand in the field of technology. So I think that will go strongly. The transfer of technology to India, as far as, let's say, semiconductors are concerned, or critical and emerging technologies. I think irrespective of which president comes to the White House in January of next year, I think all these, the semiconductor, AI, biotech, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, green energy, green hydrogen, quantum computing, I think all those areas are ones in which our cooperation will continue to expand and continue to grow.